When talking about new teams entering the sport, there has been one name on everyone's lips, and that is Andretti. For good reason too, a family name that has dominated multiple racing disciplines, who has racing success in their blood, with the backing of an American automaker, General Motors, as a future engine partner. Not only that, but they're also the only team that was given the green light to enter F1 by the FIA following a brutal application process that saw every team but the American powerhouses turned away. Their subsequent dismissal by Liberty and FOM came as a pretty scandalous decision, one which continues to be questioned by the American Congress, which seemed to be down to the sheltering of the incumbent F1 teams. It may come as quite a surprise then, despite the overwhelming support for their entry, Andretti may not actually be the next entrant into Formula 1, but rather a team that was turned away by the FIA, who now has an inside agent on the grid. What's worse, according to an ex-team boss, they may also not be the only American team looking to enter the sport in the next few years. Want to know why Andretti may not be the next new name on the F1 grid? The seeds of this usurpation have already been planted and could come to fruition quicker than we could have ever anticipated. And stick around, because there's a new team on the block who might take one of Andretti's unique selling points away from them. So the big news that dropped before a wheel was even turned at the Belgian Grand Prix was that the man brought in to replace Otmar Zafnauer as Alpine team principal on a temporary basis was stepping back from trackside duties. While it was expected that this would happen eventually, this decision came pretty suddenly and seems to be down to the ruthless decision-making of executive Flavio Briatore. The fact that Bruno Famin is being moved to the Viry-Châtillon engine facility while also being in charge specifically of WEC and Formula E programs at the same time as considerations are being made about the future of Renault's F1 engine program is pretty telling, as it seems that all signs point towards a customer engine deal under the management of a new team principal, two things pushed by Flavio in his endeavors to fix the Aston team. So who is the new team principal? Well, long-time viewers of the junior categories will recognize the name Oliver Oakes as the founder and now ex-team principal of High-Tech GP. The team has hosted the likes of George Russell and is currently putting up a fight with Paul Aaron for the F2 Championship. He's a young man in a career for older men, the second youngest ever as a matter of fact, only being beaten to the youngest by a baby-faced Christian Horner, with whom Oakes shares quite a few parallels with. Following his announcement, he would put out a statement of thanks, making it clear just who was responsible for his rise to the new F1 team management position. I am extremely grateful to Luca De Meo and Flavio Briatore for this opportunity to lead BWT Alpine F1 team back to competitiveness. The team has talented people and excellent resources at its core, and I am confident that we can accomplish a great deal together during the remainder of this season and the longer term. I look forward to getting started after the summer break. So you may be asking, how the hell does this affect Andretti? Well, that's because High-Tech, the team that Oliver Oakes founded and ran for the last 9 years, were one of the teams to put a bid in for a Formula 1 spot at the same time Andretti did. Andretti were the only team to be taken on, however High-Tech secured a vast amount of funding following a sale of a 25% stake in the team prior to their application. Given their rise up the ranks from karting to F3 to F2, the team made it pretty clear in its announcement that a position in Formula 1 would be the crowning achievement and complete its rise through the sport. Given that Renault are potentially losing the only team using their F1 engines, thus ceasing their engine program's existence, and there have been rumors swirling for a while about the sale of the team, something we must say has been rebuffed by Luca De Meo, it seems that Oakes entering the scene may signal a way in for High-Tech in some way, shape or form. We're under no illusion that Renault are going to sell the Alpine team, as their arrogance took bringing back Flavio Briatore to realize that they may have been the problem all along. However, a collaboration between High-Tech and the Aston team does seem to be on the cards. High-Tech wants a way in, and Alpine wants to overhaul their team to be successful. The mutual benefit extends down the junior Formula 2, with High-Tech seeming to be destined to be a breeding ground for Alpine junior drivers. High-Tech gets a way into the sport through Oakes stepping up, and Alpine gets a secure pathway for their young talent looking down. Pretty sweet deal, right? It does seem that High-Tech have gained a backdoor entrance into the sport, and in a far less stressful way than Andretti has experienced, going via the formal route laid out for them by the FIA. The entrance of Briatore and now Oliver Oaks put yet another nail into the coffin for Andretti, as Alpine seemed to be one of the most likely teams to consider selling their team to the American outfit, given their horrible form and directionless approach to the sport. Now that Alpine seems set to at least give an overhaul a go, as well as Haas having an uptick in form under Ayo Komatsu, the only hopes that Andretti has of entering the sport is either the Audi project clown show imploding on itself and selling up before even entering, the American government stepping in due to antitrust laws putting pressure on the sport to allow them entry, or, and the most likely option, we won't be seeing Andretti on the grid until General Motors are ready. It is also worth mentioning that the manner of High-Tech's potential entry into the sport will be in a way that Andretti isn't looking for, namely a partial entry in collaboration with an already existing team. Andretti wants their own team under their own control with no mitigating factors. However, even a partial entry of someone that put their application in at the same time as them must come as one hell of a kick in the mouth for the American team. It seems that when it rains it pours for Andretti, as while High-Tech have potentially leapfrogged them to the grid, there's another team being formed which takes away one of the major selling points that Andretti brings to the sport. Otmar Szafnauer, ex-team principal of Alpine, Aston Martin and Racing Point, has announced that Andretti are no longer the only American team with serious backing with an eye on joining the F1 grid. The American market is a large part of Andretti's appeal to the sport, with the American market being a cornerstone of Liberty Media's approach to the sport since entering back in 2016, and so another team bringing the same potential appeal to the American market does reduce the shine of Andretti's bid to enter the sport from Liberty's standpoint, which will have a further importance with Logan Sargent bowing out from the sport at the end of this year. And while according to Otmar the process is still in its infancy, 2028 is a long time away, and by the time it comes around there may well be more than one American team on the block. Otmar seems to be the man heading the project into existence, and in announcing it on the F1 podcast, he seemed to take shots at his prior team, Alpine, as he said, "I'm a competitor, and the one thing I like more than anything is the competition. So to come back in a role where I can't influence how well the team is competing, I don't think I'd be interested. If it was a role where I could develop, build, attract the right people to improve a team's competitiveness, I'd be interested." And while he confirmed it's not Andretti he is working with, he did say it's a massive American company with the backing to start a brand new Formula One team, claiming they won't make the same mistakes that prevented Andretti's entry. Now we're just putting some of those building blocks in place to ensure that we have everything that's required in order to be successful to both start a team but also get an entry. It could be assumed then that this mystery team is capable of bringing its own OEM to the table, as that was the make or break reason for Andretti's rejection, or at least that's what Liberty and FOM claim. Now, a key thing to note here is that the FIA has made their desires to see 12 teams with as many OEMs as possible on the grid, with Ben Sulayem championing that idea in particular, with him saying, "The FIA should be asking, begging OEMs to come in. We should not just say no to them. If you say what is my dream, it is to fill up the 12 potential grid slots, and to have a US team from an OEM and power unit and a driver from their driving." So if the matter of the current team's greed can be appeased, it may well be that we can see a grid stacked with 12 teams by the turn of the decade, with Andretti Cadillac being more or less guaranteed to be joining in 2028 at the latest, unless something massive occurs, and more teams from the American frontier being eager to join them in doing so.